What's the best martial art for self-defense? The short answer is self-defense. Get a specifically self-defense club. They're few and far between. It's rare that one teaches actual self-defense. It's usually a martial art that they say self-defense on. Arbud is not a single style. It's not one specific martial art. It is everything that works put into the mixer for self-defense. We are a self-defense club. That is our martial art, self-defense. We go over the law, we go over aggression lineups, we go over body language, we go over how to handle the adrenaline dump, we go over what to look for in terms of if somebody is following you, we go over what to look for in terms of this is what the bad guys look for in a victim. We go over all of that. We then go over the myriad techniques that will work, that have the highest percentage of working in a real situation. So if you are a karateka and something's happening in front of you and you take a really wide stance, you're like, right, okay, let's do this. You leave yourself very open to being tackled to the ground by a rugby player. If you are a grappler and you're like, okay, I'm going to stand very square on and I'm going to get ready to grab the bastard, you leave yourself open to getting kicked. If you are a ground specialist and the first thing you do is take the guy to the ground, that's great. But as you land, you realise that the guy was pulling a knife and you've just landed on his knife. There's no one set martial art that covers everything. And I know it's funny to me how there's certain styles of martial arts, and I'm not going to name any, but they tell you that they are the best martial art in the world. It's like, well, for what? If your goal is to be an Olympic medalist in Taekwondo, then boxing and judo just aren't going to work. Taekwondo is then the best. If your goal is to win a world championship in boxing, boxing is the best martial art for you. When it comes to self-defense, self-defense specific clubs are the best martial art for you. When you take a lot of different styles that say, we're the best martial art in the world, it's proven, we can prove this is the best martial art in the world. Okay, go on. MMA users. Every MMA club teaches us. It's like, right. So just before we go any further, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure out which martial arts I'm pissing off here, more mixed martial artists train boxing than they do any other martial art. Keep that in mind before you start spouting off horse shit just because you only pay attention to the fighters who train in the style that you also train. When it comes to certain styles, the original syllabus works really well. But the original syllabus was devised for one-on-one fights. One-on-one match fighting is not self-defense. That syllabus itself has now been stripped down to the point where you're not training that martial art. You're training a handful of the ground techniques from that martial art that cross over quite well to MMA. That's why a lot of this is the MMA club, this is the time of day we teach this particular style. It's not, this is this style club and we've got a session of MMA. It's not that way around because that style has become added into MMA, but you've still got the family from that particular style. I wonder who I could be talking about. That still purport they are the best in the world because they've proven it time and again. No, they've proven it time and again in one-on-one match fights. As I've stated in pretty much every other fucking clip I've ever done, you have martial arts, you have match fighting, you have self-defense. They're siblings, and there's some crossover, but they're very different things. Very, very different things. So, the best style for self-defense is a self-defense club. It's going to someone who specifies, I don't teach this, I don't teach that, I don't teach that. We teach self-defense. People have come to me and said, actually, I'm more into this. I've told them of these individual style martial arts clubs around where I live. I've taken people to some of the ones that I go to because you should always keep training. You should always keep a white belt mentality. You shouldn't be, well, I run my own club. I don't need to go to anybody else's class. That's wrong. That's a red flag right there. If you go to anybody's club and they tell you, well, I'm already running my own club over here. I don't need to be in anybody else's club. I can avoid, get the fuck out of there straight away. In terms of individual styles, or in terms of I don't have a pure self-defense club where I am, I have said for very many years, get yourself twice a week into a boxing gym and once a week into a judo club. If you do that purely for self-defense techniques, purely for keeping yourself safe, that's enough. Even if it's just once a week in boxing and once a week in judo, those will be good enough. You will get people now commenting on this saying, oh, well, no, because you've got MMA fighters who do this, and this. Again, that's for being a professional athlete. That's for being a professional combat athlete. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about self-defense. I'm talking about I don't have a great love of martial arts. I don't have a great love of combat sports. But my job puts me in front of very bad people. I live in a rough area. What can I do to keep me safe? I'm not interested in becoming a world champion and beating people up. I'm not interested in becoming a professional ass kicker. I just want something that will keep me safe, or keep my missus safe when we go to the takeaway on a Friday night. For those purposes, boxing and judo. I also think it's interesting how, more times than not, boxing and judo will be the least expensive clubs to go to for sessions. They will cost you the least amount of money. The kit will cost you the least amount of kit. Like, you can get a decent judo gi for about 25 quid. That's truthfully, you get a judo gi for 25 quid. The same fucking thing with a bunch of patches on for BJJ will cost you 100 and something quid. I don't quite get why, but it is what it is. Boxing, you're probably looking at a £5 per session. Judo, you're looking at somewhere between £3 to a £5 per session. It's also interesting how these two styles are the ones that don't have a waiting list. It's very rare that you will see a queue lined up around the building for boxing and judo. Because they work. Because you know that this isn't going to be an easy session. I'm not just going to sort of throw shapes in the air. I'm not going to have a nice, oh, I do this to you, and you go, oh, yeah, isn't that pretty? Oh, great, yeah, I'm well at now. You're going to get involved. Boxing, it's going to ask a hell of a lot of you, even if you're just doing pads and bag work, because you get to a point where you're exhausted, your arms feel like lead, and you've got some gruff guy in front of you holding the pads going, I didn't say stop, keep going. You've got to keep going. Judo, your first session, you're going to learn how to fall. So that's a mind fuck right there, because we do everything we can within our day-to-day life to stay upright. Now it's like, yeah, but now we're going to willingly throw ourselves on the ground. We've got to learn how to fall. You learn how to fall. As soon as you get done, that's like, do you fancy getting on, having a bit of a pull around with people you've never met before? The psychological impact of this is amazing. To go into a room full of people you don't know, to do things you have evolved to not have to do, to then get in there and go, okay, let's do this. Quick note, any boxing gym or judo club, if they say, do you fancy getting on straight away in your first session? If you say no, they should respect that. If you say, I really don't want to get in the spar, they shouldn't be asking you to spar in your first session anyway, to be fair. But some judo clubs will. Because if it's nice, friendly, and it's just, you go with a higher grade who isn't going to try and take advantage of you. But you shouldn't be really sparring on your first session anyway. But if they try and force you to spar when you don't want to, and it's not just a case of you've been coming for a few weeks and you need to get over your fear of getting in there, if it is literally like, I'm fucking brand new to this, I'm not getting on the mat with a bunch of killers, then they shouldn't be trying to force you to. You'll find you want to. That's when you know you're in the right place. But again, best martial arts for self-defense is an actual pure self-defense club, such as Arbud. Who else can I say? I can tell you so the British Combat Association is probably a good place to look up the list of people. You've got, if you're in the Midlands, if you're in the Coventry area, you've got Tony Summers and Matty Evans doing stuff. I think they still train out of Red Corner Boxing Gym. I'd have to look that up. Or you can look it up. I'm not going to do the work for you. They're there. In the south, obviously, you've got Lee Morrison and Urban Combatives. You've got, I want to say it's Rotherham, but I'm probably getting it wrong. You've got Andy Crittenden with the lineage from Dave Turton, so they're two guys that you'd look up. Again, these are clubs that are self-defense as opposed to an Ian Abernethy in the north who takes karate and makes it work for self-defense. These are clubs that are just, to the best of my knowledge, focused just on self-defense, not as modifying another style for self-defense. And of course, if you're in the northwest, you've got me. So that would be it. But if you haven't got a self-defense club near you, I would suggest boxing and judo make really good training partners. Any questions, comments, queries, or suggestions? If you feel the need to tell me I'm wrong, which I'm not, But for whatever, if you feel I need to get in touch under anything, please just let me know, and I'll do my best to answer you as soon as I can.